Hello, David.
Hey, Phil.
Today is very special. We have one of the great comedians in America.
I'm so excited. I sort of live in the neighborhood with this gentleman, and I sort of stalk him. He doesn't know that. And then at Sketchfest, I finally was able to pounce and beg him to be on our podcast.
Well, let's not waste any time. It's Dana Gould.
Let's spill the beans, chew the fat, food for thought, jokes on tap. Talking with our mouths full, having fun. A piece of cake and humble pie, serving up a slice of life. Leave the dressing on the side, it's naked lunch. Clothing optional.
Dana, welcome to Naked Lunch.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
I gave you no choice because we were all at Sketchfest in San Francisco, and you were in the lobby trying to avoid lunatics, and I bum rushed you and begged you, and
They always find you.
Yes.
I was delighted at the invite. I was delighted to talk. I'm delighted to be here.
We go back.
You think I'm so much more important than you.
I do. Well, we go back a long way. I don't know if you remember how we met, but I believe it goes all the way back to when the lady you were married to,
My
was
ex-wife,
our craft service person on a show
down the shore.
That's right. So we're talking 1990.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And were you were working on something? Were you working on Ben Stiller at the time?
Yeah. I was hot at that time. But
And
then you could not approach me.
Yes.
And my ex-wife Sue was a craftsperson on down the shore,
And she went on.
who I saw this morning.
Oh,
it's not like we
nice.
don't.
That's
quite
nice.
close.
Your divorce brought us together in a way you might not realize, but when you moved, when you left whatever home you were in, you moved directly below me in our neighborhood, so that if my house floods, your house will flood.
You end up in my house.
That's how close. Exactly. We could all have the same house. But I am such a fan of yours. I'm like literally shy if I walk in the neighborhood with my dog, and especially because he often will poop on your corner. That's lovely. There's a great piece of grass there.
Yeah, there is.
But I do clean up.
It's inviting.
I do clean up after.
I poop there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how nice it is.
So this is a sort of a dream come true for both of us.
Oh, that's great. It's great. Yeah. Yeah, you worked on that with Lou Schneider, I believe.
Yes.
Yep.
Lou lost his home.
Yep, as I heard.
Yeah. How are you?
No, we're fine.
We're fine. But
Oh, yeah.
Did you evacuate for a day?
We did evacuate for. It's funny. Yeah, it's a funny story. We did have to evacuate because of Runyon, and I went up to. We have a place up in Ventura County, up north around Ojai, that Sue has. We used to have it, but you take it.
Wait, before we go on,
It's a lot to clean.
Tell the people that she graduated from being craft service person for Down the Shore.
Yes.
And she became
A huge runs the industry. She went to UTA, became the youngest partner at UTA, and then moved to HBO, where she ran the joint for a long time.
It's unbelievable.
And it's
so great.
She's too shy to admit it.
Yeah.
But her claim to fame was taking a pilot out of the garbage that they passed on and saying, I really think this needs some reshooting and some recasting, but I think we need to make it. And there was reluctance up the chain, but she said, nope, this is the play. And they went, it's your call.
Yeah.
And they put Game of Thrones back on the production stage.
Was in the garbage.
In the garbage.
I have stories like this too. It's incredible what people don't know.
Oh, well, you put one in your book. We worked on the upfronts for CBS for many years. One of the biggest, most impactful in a business sense in TV history was, I think the year before I started doing the upfront for CBS. Phil, how did you change TV history forever?
I'm not going to take full credit for this.
But let's suffice to say there wouldn't be, is it CSI without him going, could I see something, what else do you got? So that's pretty cool.
It was also in the garbage pile of video cassettes. the night before the upfronts. And the head of CBS, just because I was helping him with his speech and I would direct his performance at Carnegie Hall the next day, he got to this part of introducing something else at the upfronts, and he wasn't sure about it. And he asked what I thought. I didn't think much of it. And the suits were not happy that I was expressing an opinion, but I was asked. Right? Yeah. I was just this creative in the room, and you know how they don't like them.
Yeah, no, you should.
And so
you're off leash.
Yes, I'm off leash. Exactly. They wanted me on leash. And he said, where's this other thing? Where's the one I like? And he rummaged through the garbage pile of video cassettes. And he said, and they said, what are you doing? I just want Phil to see this. And he puts it on, and it's, cops finding out stuff, a hair on a toilet, and then we find and the music was certainly cool.
That was the original title, Hair on the Toilet.
Hair on the Toilet. Yeah. And
it's a Who song. No, that was the theme of the music.
It was the Who.
Yeah.
So right away I like that. And right away I think it's cool. And he goes, what do you think? Like, seriously, what do you think? Like, I don't know, and none of these people know. What do you? I said, now that I would watch. Not really. Those aren't my type of shows.
That's the most Jewish television review I've ever heard. Now that I would watch. It's like Knock'em the Beggar says.
Yes. And, there was a fight in the room about it because it tested a little less than the other one that they were going to put on, which was absolutely terrible.
Right.
Phil's contribution to TV history becomes the biggest success story in CBS history.
Yeah.
As a result, as you mentioned, the Who did all the theme songs because it was a pattern. And so CBS got the Who to come to the upfront at Carnegie Hall for nothing because they were making so much money for advertisers. Sure. And no one knew. And I'll never forget that because the night before we're in the room discussing this, and Les Moonves said, okay, you're the only people, like the five of us in the room, the only people who know the Who are going to take the stage. Wow. If word gets out, you're all fired. And I had to raise my hand and go, I don't actually work for you. I'm only here for this. He goes, I will hire you, and then I'll fire you. So that's how that works.
By the way, eat your sandwich, everybody. Today's lunch is amazing. From Sycamore Kitchen.
Oh, the best. We love it. But Dana, let's... We're already going so far in the past. Let's talk about your new special. And
first of all, I should say this.
Please.
I talked a lot about my ex-wife.
Yes.
Let me say something kind about my wife.
Yes, please.
Fair enough.
She's too shy to say this, but she once shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.
Thus making Johnny Cash's career
exactly
even possible.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. Oh, she has my respect.
My wife is a whiskey expert, and
look what I'm wearing.
Yeah, she's a whiskey Samet on Instagram, and
really,
guys don't like a tall, beautiful woman that knows more about whiskey than they do.
I do.
Well, you're secure. I mean, let me rephrase that. Whiskey bros don't like.
But who doesn't like a person who brings something more to the party?
Insecure people.
Uh-huh.
You seem to be, listening to the new stand-up special, and it seems like you're someone who actually, you're a good advertisement for second marriage because you weren't even looking, as I understand it, from what you say, you weren't looking to get married.
No,
again.
I was done.
You were done. Mm-hmm. And you're now very glad you're not done. You seem like a happy man.
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah, I'm very.
It doesn't work happy for you.
We don't. Neither of us have a second wife. We only have one each.
But I am looking.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. Then I tell the first. That's the hard part.
That would be a good episode. Looking for second wives. It would have to be on
What's
Zoom.
funny is that Monica's helping me look.
Right. She's got a disease. Hear me out. Here's the pitch. She knows she's going to die.
That's good.
Then she doesn't have a disease.
Now what? Second act.
Has your Simpsons life, your huge success, how many years were you there? It was like
8
years.
8.
Did you encounter each other at all in the Simpsons world? Because you have so many Simpsons connections, Phil.
I think we're both very big fans of Mike Scully.
Love
great guy. I'm a fan.
Worked on
I've
Raymond.
never worked with him.
And Matt Selman.
Yeah. Who lost his house?
And Jim Brooks
Yeah, half that staff
lost their homes.
are now homeless.
That doesn't seem right, does it?
Yeah. People were forced to flee to their second and third homes.
Oh my God.
It's an LA story.
But no, it's awful. But I will say, and this is surprising, everyone I've spoken to seems oddly sanguine about it. I think they're just so happy that no one got hurt.
Right.
And it's just like, yeah, and I think when you lose, if everything goes, there's just like a weird minimalist euphoria that you experience. I'm guessing. I've never had it. Like the crap that I threw in my car when we had to get out.
Well, I was going to say, you're a collector. As a fan, I know you collect a lot of old horror movie artifacts and stuff. What did you get?
The thing that I had to be very, very careful with is I have one of the flying saucers from Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space. That Ed Wood, it's in the movie.
Yeah.
And had to, everyone's running around bubble wrapping a flying saucer.
You were doing that.
Oh, yeah. Peeled
That was
out of
your
the driveway,
prized possession.
left my kids, and they're staring at me.
Where you going, Dad?
Saucer needs the back seat.
So funny.
But no, it was. I mean, and I was embarrassed. Believe me. And I have a. It was. Yeah, I have. I don't have a lot of stuff. I have a small amount of stuff that's very special to me. But like Scott Alexander, who writes with Larry Karaszewski.
Great screenwriter.
Yeah, they wrote Ed Wood, which is the connection there. He came over to my house once and he walked in and he went, "Oh, it's not as horrible as I figured it would be." No, I have children. I'm not gonna.
But what's moving and upsetting about people who've lost their homes is it's not just the home or all the crap that we have in our home, when all the meaningful things we have in our home. It's your neighborhood. It's your life in your neighborhood. It's your neighbors, seeing them every day. If you had a relationship, it's going to that corner store that's not even there anymore, and it's just
that's not coming back. And exactly
not in
as
that
it was.
form.
No, yeah, it's
it'll never be the same.
No, I have a weird feeling that it's because not everybody is going back to where they were, and it's going to take forever, and the toxicity, and I have this feeling that like the Palisades is going to sort of be like Calabasas is going to become the Palisades, and that maybe Sierra Madre will become Altadena. I just I don't know what's going to happen, and there's also the opportunity to rebuild those cities as in America we would say the city of the future. In a civilized country, you would say a city, meaning underground wiring.
Yes, we don't have it.
Yeah, no. You go to, I was in Taiwan or someplace. You're in the airport, and then you land at LAX, and it's like, oh, this is like time travel. I'm back in the mid-century.
That's right. There's a lot of countries who we could get some lessons from.
Yeah. I don't want to say LAX is stuck in the past, but the Wi-Fi code there is Briarcliff 2 3615.
One of my favorite things you do is hanging with Dr. Z.
Oh, I'm impressed you even know it.
I know it. I love it. Tell the people how that came about.
Well, going on the road got too easy. No, I'm kidding. I was no longer at a place where I would lose money by performing, so I reinvented my career. No, I've always been a fan of Planet of the Apes.
Me too.
For some reason, it rang my bell as a kid the way, in a big way, like in the way baseball rings people's bells, or Springsteen rings people's bells. Like this very specific thing just knocked me for a loop. I've always loved it. On the Ben Stiller show, I wrote a sketch, Planet of the Apes, the musical, before they did it on The Simpsons.
Wow.
Separate development.
And that was great.
Yeah, and mine was not as funny as theirs.
But you still sued yourself when
I
you
did.
got to The Simpsons.
We got canceled, and we got canceled before they did it. And what we did in the Ben Stiller show was like, if you come up with a sketch that's a big budget, what's another sketch that we can do with the same set, costumes or something?
That
just
makes
for
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought the musical sketch was a commercial like when Hamilton comes to the Pantages. Like, it's coming, and it was just that.
Yep.
And then I thought, okay, then for the second act, we can do, from the producers of Planet of the Apes, the musical, Dr. Zaius is Mark Twain tonight.
Right.
And
Oh my God.
right. Never filmed it, never did. And the only reason I wrote it is because I wanted to do it. You know, I wanted to get in the makeup and do it.
And that makeup, that's not, you're just putting on a plastic mask. That is,
No, it's it.
you
It's it.
spent time. You got the real guys who showed you how to do it?
It's
tell me.
interesting. So 9 years go by, 10 years go by. No, I'm sorry. That was 92. Ben Stiller show was 92, 93.
Canceled, wins an Emmy.
Yes. 17 years go by. And I'm on the phone with John Hodgman. And he was saying, and we're just talking. And he's saying, I'm doing this thing on the internet where I'm trying to find, because there's a picture of Maurice Evans from Planet of the Apes on set reading Mark Twain's biography. And I'm trying to get somebody to do Dr. Zaius doing Mark Twain. And I went, oh my God, that's so funny. I wrote that as a sketch like 15 years ago. And he said, do you want to do it up at Sketchfest?
Oh, man.
Oh, that's where you did it.
And my first thought was, no, that sounds like a lot of work.
Right.
But I'm really good friends with a lot of makeup people just by being in that world, by being a super nerd. And I called up my friend Greg Nicotero, who's one of the exec producers of The Walking Dead. And he's the N in KNB Effects, the effects company. One of my best friends. This was literally the conversation. Hey, Greg, it's Dana. Is there somebody over there that can do a Dr. Zaius makeup on me? It'll be in San Francisco, but we'll put him up and get him up there. Yeah, hang on. Yeah, Andy will do it. That was it. That was the conversation.
Wow. These are good people to know.
Yeah, so I did it, and it's on YouTube. If you do Dr. Zaius Mark Twain, you can find it on YouTube.
Oh, I'd love to see that. Yeah.
And then somebody saw that, and they called me and said, would you like to come to TCM? Because we're doing Planet of the Apes as a Fathom event, and Ben Mankiewicz wants to interview Dr. Zaius before the movie, and then we'll show that at Christmas movie.
Oh my God,
So
that's great.
Yeah. So Andy and I flew to Atlanta, and that's where the character started to come about. That he's in Planet of the Apes. He's done a lot of stuff. He's done all these. That's one movie.
He's a real guy.
Yeah. And then so we did, and that was really funny. And it was just like, we all have that love of show business. And like when Orson Welles would go on Merv Griffin and their friends are famous, and it's just like, you know, and that stuff, you don't have to write it. It just comes out, you know. I'll tell you hell on earth. Being in escrow with Alan Alda. That's hell on earth. How many times can you inspect a chimney? Take a guess. You know, just that kind of weird Mike Douglas stuff. And then during the pandemic, my friend Rob Cohen, who you all know,
Yes.
said, you know, we were bored and we're like, let's do it as a talk show. And we can do it like Space Ghost where they're on monitors, so there's no COVID threat.
Right.
And we did it. It was great. And then the third season, we get to have real guests. And now I do live shows all the time. It's just like the weird side hustle. But when we first started to do the show, we said, like, it's between two ferns, but I'm an orangutan.
Yep.
But then people immediately started doing the weird passive aggressive between two ferns kind of stuff, which I cannot do. I'm not good at it. I'm not a good roast comic. I don't have that. I like people. You know, I'd rather be nice.
It's a bad quality.
And so I was like, stop, this isn't working.
Yeah.
And Janet Varney was the guest. So fortunately, it was somebody that was so fast on their feet. And Rob said, no, he's Sammy. And that was it. And that was the final thing. I was like, yes, every guest is my favorite guest.
Loves show business.
Yeah, you're right. It's like, and that whole, like, well, I'm going to London. When you go, would you tell them this belongs there? Would you tell them that my heart belongs there? That whole, and that was it. And now it's just so fun to do. It's just so stupid to do.
And how long does it take to get in the makeup?
When I do the makeup, it's 2 hours.
Oh man!
And it takes about an hour to get off, actually, because the only thing that's different about the makeup that I wear from the movie is the glue. The glue is better now. They used to use spirit gum.
I remember that from high school.
Right. There's a very famous movie with a very famous actor that's still alive who drank so much they sweat alcohol and it dissolved the spirit gum and their appliances started falling off. So they had to develop a new kind of adhesive that was alcohol resistant.
Oh my God.
It's this stuff called Telesis. And it's basically surgical glue, surgical adhesive. And you have to paint it off with Telesis remover. You have to buy them together.
Wow.
But you can, when it's on, you can't pull it off my face. It's on.
And there's fake teeth in the front, right?
Fake teeth in the front, yeah. And I wear a little thing. I either paint my teeth out or I have a little thing I put over my teeth.
I'm going to guess your budgets for these are less than the Tim Burton Planet Apes movies, and they are considerably more entertaining.
Well, the makeup was not the problem in that movie.
Exactly.
But don't you miss movies where it was practical? I'm not talking just about Planet of the Apes. It was so much more fun
because your
to see the makeup work.
Yes, and your
than to have a CGI ape.
And and I will say I like those new movies. I think that they're great.
Yes.
But
not in that.
And we're of a generation where I can tell if it's fake. Yes. Even great fake, I know it's fake. And like they're making another Gremlins or a remake of Gremlins, and it's all practical.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Beetlejuice was mostly practical. And I can tell, and especially with comedy, because you can only have so many breaks from reality. Yeah. Comedy itself is a break from reality. If you're doing a sci-fi comedy, you really have to know what the rules are.
Right.
And because if it looks fake, then comedy doesn't work.
Yes.
Because we're not in reality anyway, so that's not going to work. And I know that because I had a horror comedy show in it.
And in Jurassic Park, originally, they built practical dinosaurs.
Yes.
And that was thrilling to see because they were...
Right. And even though some were CG, you had a practical dinosaur in the movie so you could see it and feel it. Yeah, you could. And just because you can do anything doesn't mean you should.
Well, the magic is gone. So it used to be you'd go to the movies. How did they do that stunt?
Right.
That's thrilling. That guy jumped off that burning building into the... How? Now we know how.
Yeah.
He's not there. It's fake. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise has to do a 9-month campaign saying, I really drove a motorcycle into the canyon. Otherwise, you won't believe it.
And no one asked why.
And he got insurance for that. How did that happen? That's the question now. How did they get insurance?
There should be an Oscar for that.
Right?
For getting the insurance for Tom Cruise.
By the way, you saw that movie. When you finally see it, looks fake.
Yes.
Even though he's really doing it. Because the ground that he's on, he couldn't possibly, they built a ramp and they CGI'd the mountain on it.
Yeah.
So that takes you out.
Yeah, it's you do it or don't. And and don't.
Yeah, please don't. We need that guy.
Being a Planet of the Apes fan, have you by any chance seen my favorite statue in LA is we help the motion picture and television
used to be in my old backyard.
What? That the Roddy McDowall sculpture?
That's at the Screen Actors Guild retirement home?
It's motion picture and television.
Because you lived in that house.
Yeah.
So another connection to Planet of the Apes. Were you thrilled beyond belief to get that house?
Sue and I were looking at houses and we walked into that house and the guy said, it used to belong to an actor named Roddy McDowall, and I felt Sue's eyes ratchet.
I guess we're living here. Yeah.
And it's also her dad's favorite movie too. So it was
great.
Just like, well, this is a fait accompli. That was from the movie Battle from the Planet of the Apes. It was in Roddy McDowall's backyard. A guy named Brian Pennicus took it, refurbished it. And when Roddy passed, they put it at the Screen Actors Guild retirement home. They would do these benefits for the Screen Actors Guild retirement home at Roddy's house.
It's the Motion Picture and Television Fund. I'm just correcting it because we do the
Motion Picture Television
Fund. Yes,
right. And we continued that tradition. And one night, Roddy McDowall's sister was there, who lived, I believe, at the fund. And I said, if you ever want to come to the house and walk around or look at the roses, because there's these famous rose bushes that Elizabeth Taylor planted.
Yeah.
And she just went, well, I think that would be weird. I'm sorry. I'm not hitting on you.
Though it is a great line. If you ever want to come by the roses.
Elizabeth Taylor's rose bushes.
That's a new one.
Yeah. But it was very strange.
Did you, loving the, horror movies, when you got, I don't know what year you came out here, but did you make it a practice? Because Phil often talks about how he got to know, I know Mel Brooks you got to write with and work with, but were there certain legends you went out of your way to get to know when you got here?
No, there are people that there's again Forrest Ackerman that everybody knew that you had to go to his house that I did. That was a big thing for me. But what I find weirder now is the people that I know that I'm friends with, that I can't believe
You're
I'm friends with. And I'm talking about
like now,
like Joe Dante and now and Leonard Maltin. Like I'm friends with Leonard Maltin.
Me too.
That's
Isn't he
bananas.
the greatest? Isn't it great?
He's the greatest guy in the world. But
The
that's
knowledge.
crazy that I'm friends with Leonard Maltin.
It's like you're friends with Paramount Pictures.
Yeah, or like the Lincoln Memorial.
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
I have a hip hop feud with Leonard Maltin. It's very bitter. It's very East Coast, West
one of
Coast.
his many hip hop feuds.
Yes, exactly. He's a badass.
You got to, Dana. You got to come to movie night with him.
Oh my God, that would be fantastic.
Have you ever been to Phil's movie night?
No.
That seems insane.
That's going
wrong.
to change.
It's weird that we're doing this podcast because we should say Phil and I don't speak.
This is our Dean and Jerry moment.
Well, this is a telethon. By the way, I did notice you were on a Seinfeld. You were on a King of Queens.
I did everything.
Not a Raymond that I know of.
I might have been writing by that time. I think
This would have been 96 to 2005.
Oh yeah, no, I could have, but I didn't. I did a lot of stuff like 97, 98.
Yeah.
And then I realized I had a face for writing. And did
Me
that.
too.
When you're stopped,
Yeah,
when you are stopped on the street, what are the? I imagine even though it's one Seinfeld, there are a certain amount of people who will say, "What do people bring up to you besides just your hardcore?"
Why are you
fan
pooping
base?
on that lawn?
Well, now I'm I'm really thrilled now that I get a lot Dr. Z, which I love
That's right.
because I created it
Yep.
out of whole cloth.
Yep.
And I've always been so like, I love the kind of comedy that I can't do.
Right.
So I like Paul Rubens and Pee Wee was to me, I know that was it. I was always just like, to have a thing that you created that's not you. And then at this very late stage of my career, I finally did it. Even though I'm not comparing, but still, I love that. I was the voice of a video game in the late 90s, and I did that more than anything else.
And
that's called Gex.
Yes, my kids. That's a big deal, and I don't
get
know what
that.
it means.
Me neither.
Sure.
But my daughter was like, my oldest daughter is a big gamer, and she literally called me up, and she's like, "You were a video game?" It's from college. And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Why did you never tell me?" I was like,
Did that game make the transition to the newer systems that are on now?
They're redoing it now.
Do you get to be part of it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I just remember.
And I Rob Cohen and I wrote all this stuff. I don't want to.
Did either of you know Paul Sims at all?
Oh, sure.
When Paul Sims, I was doing a book where Phil is the star of called The Showrunners, where I followed a bunch of showrunners through a season, and I followed Paul Sims.
We have that book.
And I remember the exact day that I was at the news radio office, and all the guys in that writer's room said, okay, we're going to play video games.
Yeah.
And I went, what? And I literally just remember thinking, no, I don't want to play video games. And I left.
But
and I remember thinking, I never played a video game in my life. And
but writers will do anything to avoid writing. And
But that's the thing. I don't play video games either. And I was like, it is why I love Mike Scully.
Yeah.
I like to go home.
Yeah.
yes.
I like to go in and work
Yep.
and know that we got to get this much done.
Yep.
And then we're going to go home and you'll live a life. Because if you don't have a life, you get nothing to write about.
You're now
That's
talking.
exactly.
This is your shared religion, I think.
Yeah. But it's crazy how many people. It was also just, when we're all in our 20s and we're not married, we don't have kids, and we're not tough. That
Speak
became,
for yourself.
But it became that's the macho thing. We're there till 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
how dumb!
I always hated it. And nothing ever got funnier at 3 a.m. You just thought it did.
No.
Because you're hopped up on Twizzlers and then.
No, and I tell this story a lot. We were at the Simpsons, and Mike was like, "Ugh, guys, I'm sorry. We have to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
We have to stay late. We'll get a pizza. Call your family. Call your wife if she's expecting you. It won't be that bad, but we got to stay late."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I walk into a volcano for Mike. I don't care. I call up. I'm going to be late. We all come back in the room. He goes, shit. I told my kids I'd take them to see Chicken Run. Just come in an hour early tomorrow. And we all did. We came in at 9 and we was done by 9:40.
You are at the mercy of whatever life that showrunner has at home.
Yeah.
If he doesn't
there
want
are
to go
people
home,
who shall remain nameless.
yes, they do not want to go home.
Yeah.
And so they take it out on you.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah,
I worked for many of those.
No, me too.
We
Yeah.
were home by 5 or 6 every single night doing Raymond because, like you said, that's where the stories are coming from, first of all. And second of all, if you have a good system, you don't have to stay late.
No. And you're right. At 3 in the morning, it's not funnier.
No.
There's a great.
In fact, it's just you're angrier.
You're angrier. I don't know this guy's name. You do. He had a recipe box with cards in it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's a rewrite on a pilot or something with Levitan, Steve Levitan. And it's very late. And somebody pitches a joke. And Steve goes, I don't know, it's too jokey. It's too sweaty. And this guy goes, it's 2:30. Put it in.
Wow, that's good.
That's a great line.
I thought you were going to do the thing about the guy with the recipe
Can
box.
the floor be wet?
Can the floor be wet?
No, but it was the same guy.
Yes.
It was the same guy that said, it's 2:30.
I thought that was
put it in.
that's the only story I know, but it's 2:30.
Yeah.
Put it in is even better.
The
I
other
love
story that I don't know the showrunner and I don't know the guy that did it, but it's one of the working in the room, showrunner gets called out, comes back in. Sorry, it was my wife. My daughter just had her period. And one of the writers goes, thank God.
Wow. That, the writer's room, there's no better place for laughs. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah. And that was the thing, being an actor too.
Yeah.
When I went into a writer's room, I was like, oh, no, I'm definitely one of these guys.
Yes.
Funnier.
It's where the fun is.
Funnier.
Yeah.
I like to, here's ironic coming from me now. I don't have to wear makeup.
And yet your glam squad was working for an hour to get you ready for this.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the world's best office
now
job.
I have 2 giant trunks that I have to take. It's so ridiculous. But
the costume's great too. The costume for Dr. Z.
It was Andy's costume, but then I started to. I love that period of show business from like 66 to 74.
Yeah.
Everybody
Everybody smokes.
A lot of velour.
A lot of
ascots.
We're drinking.
Yeah. Everybody's hammered.
It's amazing.
Life was match game. Life was just match game.
Yeah.
And that's
and there were obviously gay people, but it was never said.
They just wore ascots.
Exactly.
They were gentlemen that wore ascots.
It was like Charles Nelson Riley and
yeah.
It was.
Are you ready for some?
And Paul Lynde. I love these people. We, as a child, you just think they're funny characters. They're great characters.
Here, are you ready for some? Here's my favorite algorithm.
Yes.
Paul Lynde is to Alice Ghostly.
Oh my God. Yes.
What Charles Nelson Riley is to this is the girl from Laugh-In. Not Ruth Buzzy, but
Not Goldie Hawn.
Not Lily
No.
Tomlin.
no.
Not.
I should have had it full. They both do this. Yeah.
Oh, Joanne Worley.
Joanne Worley.
Very good. Very good.
It's good to know your punchline before you start the joke.
No, but it doesn't matter. It's very good. I like that we all had to think, and
Yeah.
then yes, it makes perfect sense.
Here's somebody that you don't. Here's somebody that
Maybe they were the same person.
Well, that's the thing. That you. Yeah, this is so name dropping. It's so weird, but like again, people I can't believe I know.
Right.
Drew Friedman, the cartoonist.
Yes.
He used to do all those pointillism covers
Great
of the
stuff,
New York
yeah.
Observer.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called Any Relation to Persons Living or Dead is Purely Coincidental that
Right.
defined my sense of humor.
Yes.
I know him.
Yes.
And he sent me, we were talking on the phone last night, he sent me a lobby card of Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla, signed by Sammy Petrillo, who, if you don't know what this is, Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla is a Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis movie that does not star Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. It stars Sammy Petrillo and Duke Mitchell doing Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis.
This is a movie night.
At the height of Dean and Jerry's fame. And it
So a
would be
cover
like-
band.
Yes, but put on the trailer and look at it.
Yes.
And it would be like if we found a guy that looked like Adam Sandler, Ted Mitchell,
Yeah.
and we did an Adam Sandler movie with this guy, but not Adam.
But that's movies anyway now.
But it's
imitations
but
of
you
imitations.
have to see.
I would love
like,
to see.
You've got to see Sammy Petrillo because you're like, no, that's Jerry Lewis. No, it's not.
And I bet he's subtler than Jerry, even though it's an imitation of Jerry.
You can't believe it's not Jerry. It's 1955 or 6 or something. It's like right at the peak. And
Bela
this
Lugosi
guy
meets
meets a Brooklyn gorilla.
Brooklyn gorilla.
yeah. And what
It's a
happened
feature
was-
film, a
it's
full length.
full length movie. What happened was, and that's the world that I love, that weird.
Show
Milton
business.
Berle discovered this kid, Sammy Petrillo, that looked just like Jerry Lewis. And he put him in a sketch on the Texaco Star Theater, playing Jerry's baby.
Yeah.
Came out of a stroller at the end of a sketch. And then a low rent, like Albert Zugsmith or whoever it was, said like, let's make a Dean and Jerry movie without Dean and Jerry. And we'll just bury their names in the credits and people think it's Dean and Jerry.
Great.
And they got a guy named Duke Mitchell who looks just like Dean.
Oh my God.
It's mind-boggling.
The nerve to do that.
No, it's and literally Jerry Lewis was like, "What the? You can't do this!" And he offered to buy the negative and burn it. I mean, it was a huge.
I could see Jerry Lewis getting really upset. Like, I own wow. You can't do wow.
Before I leave, we're gonna watch
Yes,
the
yes.
trailer
Okay.
on a phone or a computer.
Well, it's
'Cause
how
I
we'll
wa-
end our episode.
I want to watch you watch it.
I can't wait to see it.
But you
I
did,
can't wait to see
Can you talk about writing with the real Mel Brooks, not the
Yes.
knockoff Mel Brooks? Because
That was why I was thinking of. That was why I was thinking of Alice Ghostly because I was very lucky, incredibly lucky. Mel wanted to write Spaceballs 2. I guess I can say this now. And he wanted to write it with somebody. He wanted to write it with an Irish guy because he wrote the first one with his writing partner who was
Thomas
Irish.
Meehan?
Yeah, but he
I
was
worked with him.
ill at the time.
Yes.
So he said to, he walked across the hall and went into Scott and Larry's office and said, "Who's funny in those Star Wars?"
Wow.
Because Mel doesn't like science fiction fantasy. It's the only genre he's parodied that he has no interest in. And that's why there's a castle in it, because he got into it like it's a fairy tale.
Good work.
And so they said, well, our friend Dana Gould's pretty funny. And he's a science fiction guy. He goes, all right, let me get some other names, because he didn't know who I was. So he called his Stuart Kornfeld, who used to run Brooks Films.
Yep.
And he goes, who's funny and knows Star Wars? And Stewart goes, my friend Dana Gould's pretty funny and he knows science fiction. So he goes, all right, you're 0 for 2. So I went in. I never got hired. I just didn't get fired.
Yeah.
They said, come in for a couple of days if you guys get along. You know, it's an acquired, you know, you gotta fit with a guy.
He's got to like you.
Yeah. And it worked. And we wrote a really funny script. It's not the one that's in production now, but we did write a really funny script. And
I didn't know there was one in production.
Yeah,
now.
Josh Gad is doing it.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. He's great.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be great.
I heard you on another show talk about how he got angry, which I've never seen, and
He yelled at me.
Yelled at you, but not.
Yes, he was yelling at his son.
He yelled to you.
Not
Yes,
Max.
yes,
We should
not
say
Max.
that.
No, Mel has a family before he married Annie. He has 3 kids.
Right.
In New York.
Right.
And you know, Mel is arguing with his son, who's 63.
His boy. My boy can't.
Yeah.
Those difficult years with kids when they're 60.
He's like, would you ever call your father? And I'm like, oh, this is what it's like to get yelled at by Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
When I heard the same podcast that you did, and it was so exciting for me because you were talking about being on the Mel end of it when he would then go off to be with Carl for dinner.
Yeah, it was so beautiful.
Through Phil, like you must have had this for years, but towards the end, we had 30 lunches with Carl.
Oh, yeah.
And we were the opening act because then
Mel
would come over and it's like, what an
with
honor.
chicken from Versailles.
Exactly.
Which was 9 times out of 10.
No, it was always the deli. It was always...
Well, they also, Carl had a kind of a nanny who would cook for both of them, too.
Yeah.
And they would sit and watch movies.
Yeah, in fact, I got into a show that they got into, Babylon Berlin. It was like, you got to watch Babylon Berlin.
Yes.
And there's like, Carl doesn't pay attention, and I'm always screwing with him. I'll go, who's it? And I'll lie. Oh, that's what, they just found out she's his sister.
Yes. But they'd warm up with Jeopardy. First they watch Jeopardy. And then I said, and what kind of movies do you watch? And they would say, we like movies that have the phrase secure the perimeter in them.
Yeah. By the way, as do I. I never watch comedies.
Just great. But, you know, Carl passed away.
Yeah.
During one of those evenings.
Oh,
he went up to go to the restroom and didn't come back.
You're
and
kidding
so
me.
Mel is the one who discovered his best friend.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks to Phil, I got to really get to know Carl, and I think of him every day because his best wisdom, the last thing I think he ever said to me was, David, here's my best advice. Always pee before you go. And every time now I'm anywhere,
never get in a car without.
Yeah.
Especially at your age.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to, what was the other? Okay, so this is a really funny Mel story. Mel thought Dr. Z was funny, and he went, and Dr. Z was going to be in this version of this thing. And I said, I have.
He still can be. Why not?
Yeah, well, no one's going.
We're putting it out there.
You heard this ring?
Put Dr. Z in Spaceballs too.
There's a cantina.
The public
scene.
demands
They're in a
it.
nightclub.
Yeah.
And I say to Mel, what if Dr. Z's on stage with a ventriloquist dummy, but it's in like the loincloth, like Charlton
great.
Heston.
Oh, my
And I
God.
go, how you doing today, Ricky? And the dummy doesn't answer. And I go, what's going on, Ricky? And he doesn't answer. And then I go, what's up? And then the dummy turns its head and it has a brain surgery scar. And that's what I said. I go, the dummy turns its head and it has a brain surgery scar.
Yeah.
And Mel goes, no. 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 He gave me 3 no's.
Oh, God.
And then he got up and he walked over to the wall. It was just a wall like with posters on it. And he goes, this is the library of comedy.
Wow.
Show me the book where inside it says, punchline, brain surgery scar.
Yeah, listen. That's.
And we ended up with a different show.
I love that story. Oh my God. That's the difference between young and old right there.
But what was great was that I felt 8 miles tall because he felt comfortable enough to rip me
Do
apart.
that. Yes.
and like if he thought I was a loser, he'd just go, it was
You're also getting wisdom from the guy.
yeah. And he gave me some great advice about, and it was just, here's, not to get like heavy. When you're when you're that age, he's 93, 94 at the time.
A young man of 94.
Yeah.
Now he's 98.
Yeah. My dad's 94.
Yeah.
And no doubt drunk as we speak.
Oh. It's good to have
Still
a hobby.
going.
Yeah.
Still going. You can't get close enough with a stake and a mallet to take this guy down.
Does he like your wife, the whiskey girl?
Oh, yeah. No, he adores Kat.
That's good.
Yeah.
The whole neighborhood, they're very fond.
Yeah.
She's
But he was just like, my father was like, Kat, taste this. Tell me what that is. She goes, that's triple sec. He goes, it is. But when you're Mel's age, when you're my dad's age, somebody you know goes every day.
I know, it's terrible.
And that's just a part of the day. New York Times needs a quote for Neil Simon. New York Times needs a quote for so-and-so. New York Times needs a quote for so-and-so.
Yep.
I had that with Jack Nicholson. I was interviewing him about the movie he did with Morgan Freeman about Bucket List. I think it's called, right? And he told me about a friend of his who died that day. I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry you're going to the funeral. He goes, David, if I went to funerals of everyone I loved, I'd do that every day.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, it was sort of that he was hitting that.
Yeah, this
moment.
is the reward for living a long life, is you get to see everyone you know and love die before you.
But I'm wondering if that takes the spooky off it. And it's just like, well, I don't know what it is, but everyone I know is there. So,
Right.
And,
It's true.
you know,
It's true.
because Woody Allen was always like, is this it? We're born and we die and it's over. It's like, yeah. Dude, yes.
Were you as into Woody as I was
Oh, sure.
growing
Yeah.
up?
He was really, we're about the same age,
Yeah.
probably. He was really important because I have 4 older brothers.
Yeah.
They're all a foot taller than I am. They're all my mother's body was just out of testosterone by the time I was big. And you know, I got beat up my whole life, you know, and it was just like,
Yeah.
that's like when
He was your hero.
When Mel yells at me, I'm like, what else? That's it. That's the best you got. You yell at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he didn't get into fights. He wasn't a tough guy. He would get out of fights. I didn't know it at the time. He was just doing Bob Hope.
Yeah.
But that was important to have somebody that you admired that was like, yeah, no, he's doesn't like getting punched either. And
Hero for the rest of us.
yeah. And then yeah, exactly. But then that you know, you get older and you're just like, oh, is this it? Yeah, this is it. And it's funny, Drew and I were talking last night about that scene in Manhattan. It was like those pears by Cezanne. It's like, oh, stop it.
Yeah, right.
It's the most
It's pretentious now.
So the most pretentious thing also his character has a kid. And he's lying on his couch. He has a son with Meryl Streep in that movie. And he's lying on his couch, dictating into a tape recorder the things that make life worth living. He's like Potato Head Blues by Louis. He forgets his son.
Wow.
He doesn't mention his kid.
Oh my God, what a great point.
And
Also,
that's the only problematic thing about
that's the
Woody
only
Allen
problem.
ever.
Everything else in that movie is you can do it today. Another weird thing like that, again, like we think of the late 70s and early 80s. It was like, well, I was younger, but it was so, you see these things and you go, what? Like Manhattan or
Yeah.
the one that always boggles my mind is the end of Close Encounters,
Yeah.
where Richard Dreyfuss,
Says goodbye to his family.
who has 2 kids and a
Yes,
wife,
right.
later,
I know.
later.
This is more important. This ride on the spaceship with the aliens.
You could be devoured in the minute
Yes,
they
right.
shut the door. It's a cookbook.
You could
No, I know.
So good.
Yeah,
but Spielberg fixed it by showing us the inside of the
which
spaceship.
to his credit, he regrets both of those.
Yes, he does.
He regrets him leaving, and he regrets showing the inside.
Yeah, but what kind of putz am I? I bought every version.
Sure, me too. I have it too. I have the same one. Yeah, the same one. Yeah, no, I know, but it is weird. It's like, wait,
the original was perfect. I thought it was perfect.
But there are all these things that I really love them that are these classic things that you don't think about. I mean, the great these things like Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Yeah.
Indiana Jones is utterly irrelevant to the plot of that movie. When you look at screenwriting rules of the proactive protagonist,
Yeah.
his mission is to prevent the Nazis from getting the Ark.
Okay.
He fails. The Nazis open the Ark, and the Ark defends itself.
He doesn't matter.
He doesn't do a goddamn thing.
But it was fun.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. But it was
Yeah,
just
we
like,
didn't care. Sometimes you shouldn't look too closely. Dad.
It's so funny.
That's maybe the lesson.
Or make
was-
a ninth sequel.
Yeah.
That's exactly word for word what Frank Darabont said.
Really?
I was filming something with him, and I told him that. He was like, "You can't look too deep. You can't go to those
Well,
places."
if the movie's done a great job, you don't think of that.
yeah.
Only a nut like you would.
Yeah, well, you
Go back and-
well, it's all those things like but you think about it when you get notes.
Of course.
It's like, well, how do I know he loves his kids? I don't
Yeah.
know. Where's the Coast Guard and Jaws? Will you just get
Right.
off my please? Will you just
That's
stop?
true too.
It's like I lived on Cape Cod for 3 years. I've never seen an empty horizon in my life. It's like, stop it.
Yeah, they have to. You know my theory about Jaws that it works on so many levels, and on one very specific level, that movie is about 2 Jews on a boat with a Gentile.
I've never heard that, but it's true.
That is that movie. It's a comedy. It starts oddly, but it gets 2 Jews on a boat with a Gentile. Oh my God, this guy's going to kill us all. We don't belong here in the water.
You're out of here. Yes, certifiable. You're certifiable.
That's exactly right. Did you see the play they did? About
No, I
that?
wish I did. I
It was
wish
really
I did.
good. It was really good.
My friend Greg, Greg Nicotero, is a giant Jaws fan.
Me too. My favorite movie.
He has in his house. I'll take him to Greg's house.
What?
He has Ben Gardner's head.
Wow.
One of
He's
the great movie scares of
Yep.
all time.
Shot in
That-
Verna Field's pool. I'm sure you know all this.
That does not exist. That feeling of being in that theater
No.
and having the audience as one leap out
Yep.
and scream.
Yep.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. No,
that was what the greatest movie going experience of
Yeah.
my life. I can't think of a better one than that.
But I still I saw a great movie the other night, and I walked in the theater,
Yeah.
and I walked out. I was like, that was great.
Yeah.
It was Steven Soderbergh's Presence,
Oh,
and it's a ghost story
yeah.
told. Everything is the ghost's POV.
Oh, I saw the preview for this
Yeah.
the other day. It's out,
And-
or you saw a screening?
It's out. No, it's out. And not only it's well acted, it's well written, it's well structured. That you never notice that it's all this POV. Like it doesn't. It's not a gimmick.
Yeah.
It works. And at the end, there's a twist that you go like, oh, not in a million years did I figure that out. And it just made me feel great. I said, this is what it's all about.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
great.
I love that when that
Yeah.
happens. There's a gorgeous movie I want to tell, not just you, but everyone. All We Imagine as Light.
All
Have
we
you heard of
imagine
this?
as light.
Have you heard of this?
No.
So it's from India. It's the most beautiful movie of the year. It wasn't even submitted for some political
Right.
reasons. I don't know what it is, but that and Anora are my favorites of the year.
I haven't seen Anora yet. I have the disc. It's
very good.
Watch it. Yeah. No, I love going to the theater. There was a place that I used to take my kids every weekend in the summer, the Mission Tiki Drive-In.
Oh,
I went during the pandemic
Yeah.
You did?
for the first time to see Christopher Nolan's movie that came out during the pandemic. My
Oh
kids-
yeah, Tenet.
Tenet.
Yeah.
My sons were desperate, and it was such a flashback to childhood because back east,
Yeah, sure.
those drive-ins were these creepy, strange places. I loved going
did
to
they
that.
make the sound better?
Well, yeah,
In your car?
You
It
can do
comes out of your radio now. It comes out of
Ah.
your car radio now.
But I kind of like the romance of that.
Yeah,
that
and then you
box
drive away
inside
and
your-
pull it out of this. Here's a question I didn't think I'd be asking you. Did either of you see Hubie Halloween,
No.
the Adam Sandler film? In that movie, they go to the drive-in, and it's the drive-in that I worked at in high school
Oh.
in Massachusetts. So I worked at one in high school. I loved them. And we used to go every weekend during the summer. And then it closed and they sold the land. And blah, blah. But now there's another place I go, the Gardena Cinema in Gardena. It's independent, hasn't been touched since 1980.
Yeah.
Paneling and it's just and it's
And
beautiful.
still there now.
And it's an independent movie theater, and I know them, and they say, like, do you want to show a movie? And I say, yeah, because if there's a movie I want to see on the big screen, I just say, let's get this. So this Friday, I don't know when this is coming out, but February 7th, I am hosting a screening of The Omega Man.
Oh boy.
And Vincent Price and The Last Man on Earth.
Oh my God.
And you get to see him on the big screen.
That's great.
Am I right that my first hero in terms of like TV, film, writing, Rod Serling was absolutely massive to me. And I went to Cornell and like went to his archives at Fort Ithaca. Have you done deep dives into him? Have you run into his daughter?
I know his daughter. Yeah. No, I have a couple of. I have more than one painting of Rod in my home. You're gonna have to come to the house.
Oh, how great!
Were you as big a fan as? I think
Twilight
he was a
Zone,
genius.
I have all the episodes. It's absolute genius.
So someday we would like to invite you back with Anne Serling and have like a tribute to
Here's a
Rod
great.
Serling.
I mean, when you said it's a cookbook, we all know
yeah.
what that is.
It's funny. Chris Matheson, was Ed Solomon's old writing partner. They wrote the Bill and Ted movies together.
Yeah.
His father was Richard Matheson,
Genius.
who was a star.
He wrote my favorite episodes of Twilight Zone.
And wrote Duel and wrote a billion things. I Am Legend. But it's just so funny you talk about people that grew up here. And he said to me once, my mother used to hate it when Rod Serling would come over for dinner because the drapes would smell like cigarettes for a week.
That's funny. But It's a Cookbook works as a punchline for a comedy. It works as a punchline for a horror movie. It's the greatest last line of anything.
Really
I was just in Japan taking bullet trains, and for some reason I disturbed my wife by always going, Willoughby, next up Willoughby.
Willoughby.
She has no idea what I'm
And then
talking
you drive
about.
through Hollywood and you go, I bet they got it from there. It's like you see street signs.
Right, exactly.
There's down on the 105 by the airport, there's Gage and DeSoto,
Oh,
which was the fireman in emergency.
that's right.
And I'm sure Jack Webb was like, that was a good name. Hand me that scotch.
Look what Matt Groening did.
yeah.
All the names are streets in Portland where he grew up of The Simpsons.
I grew up in Tenafly, New Jersey, and when I was a kid, there was a black cop show, very briefly called Tenafly, trying to sound like Superfly.
Right,
I think. And the thing is, there was no one, it was the whitest town in the world, but you just knew some showrunner or some creator was driving past
like that.
Tenafly. That's
Tenafly
perfect.
sounds good. Full circle, Rod Serling wrote the script for Planet of the Apes.
He wrote the original?
Yeah.
Why didn't I know that?
And then it was
Wait.
then he wrote it was a novel by Pierre Boulle.
Yeah.
Rod Serling wrote the first 2 drafts, and those 2 drafts were like the book took place in a modern city.
Yeah.
And then Michael Wilson, who was a blacklisted writer, did the other rewrite.
Is his credit on the film?
Yeah, it's written by Rod Serling and Michael Wilson. I adapted Rod Serling's draft as a graphic novel called Planet of the Apes Visionaries, and it's the movie as Rod wrote it. It's interesting in that the version that Rod wrote is very much a political thriller.
Yeah.
It's really 7 Days in May, which he
Yes.
also wrote
Yes.
with those characters. What I didn't realize, so I have his drafts, and they're big. They're like 140-page drafts. Like these are like, we're going to have to cut this, but this is what we have.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize was when you write a graphic novel, you have 7 to 9 panels a page, 1 action per panel. So I had to wake up every day, sit down, and cut Rod Serling.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
Which I did. It was the worst feeling on earth. This angry, smoking ghost in a Botany 500 suit. Why are you cutting that? That's great. That's the whole scene. What are you doing?
We could so use Rod Serling to do an episode about like whatever metaphor he would find for what's going on in
I don't know.
America
Yeah,
right now.
He did it. He did.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are episodes that we could point to and go, this is right now.
Yeah. It's, the Peter Falk. It's that I don't know where to go with. that I don't know what to do.
You mentioned Woody Allen. I only want to ask about, I was thinking about this comedy albums, Woody Allen's comedy albums. There was a collection that came up.
The stand-up years.
Stand-up
The
years,
single best comedy record
that was
ever. Yeah.
mind-blowing
Yes.
in my life. What were the comedy records? I don't know from you. What were the comedy albums that changed your life?
Woody Allen, Bill Cosby, all my heroes.
But those are. I was talking about this with Drew. Those are seminal album. Bad
Absolutely.
choice of words. And I genuinely did not mean to do that. But you can't take that away. Why is there air? No, that's
To Russell, my brother, whom I slept with.
that's part of the Parthenon of this art form.
Yes.
And also, I'm sorry, they didn't do anything Errol Flynn didn't do. They didn't do anything Chuck Berry didn't do.
Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, Charlie Chaplin. All these guys. It's
Don't remember we said
random.
don't look too close.
Don't look too close.
Well, speaking of stand-up, can we just even if you don't want to, we want to promote your new special. So can you talk about which was
I wanna promote
filmed not that far from here, right? Dynasty,
No, it's filmed at the Dynasty Typewriter.
and it's
I know
great.
that theory. It's great.
I paid
The jewel in the crown.
my $10
Thank
last
you.
night and loved it. Can you talk about it a little?
It's the jewel, the Dynasty Typewriter at the old Hayworth Theater. It's the jewel in the crown of the Mid-Wilshire.
We could walk there.
It's where I think, as I said, it's where the Mid-Wilshire comes out to play.
Yes.
No, it's when you're, for a comedian, it's really out there working. Comedians approach it, and this is really George Carlin, I think, did this. You create an hour, and then you film it, and release it as an album, and then you work on your next hour.
Right.
And it's like a writer writes novels, you know, and this was like, so it was really important to me. Like I did another special. Now I'm working on my new stuff.
Yeah.
And even though I have other careers, I still do that because I'm good at it and I love doing it.
You're great at it.
Thank you. And it's called Perfectly Normal, and it's available on, it's right now it's on this platform called 800 Pound Gorilla.
which I am now a member of.
Yeah, that's the label. And then it goes to YouTube in February. I mean, it would have been,
I think February 13th, so it should be.
yeah.
Yes.
And then the album on the 14th. And,
Great.
yeah.
And now
it's just
you're
like,
already
I
on
did that.
on to the next.
Well, yeah. I'll tell you a story if you got a minute.
We got a minute.
So I finished this special, and then I'm like, I have no material. I have zero. My set list is now nothing because I just burned all that. Well, not burned, but it's on the shelf now. And then you do that panic, like hands are funny. What's funny about hands? And then I'm like, no, I'm going to live my life. Things are going to happen. I'll write about them.
Yeah.
2 days later, my mother dies.
Oh.
I'm like, I don't need material that badly. What if my car got towed? There's comedy there. What if I got a burn?
Exactly. You didn't want a whole hour.
Yeah, but I think God rest her soul. I had 20 minutes. I got a chunk about.
So it shouldn't be a total loss.
I got a chunk about my mother and the
That's great.
the inept planning of my mother's passing. It paid for itself.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But you're talking about comedy albums. I was like, to me, there was like George Carlin, and then there was other people that did comedy.
Yeah.
And my mom took me to see him when I was 16.
Yeah, that's about when I saw him too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like in a dinner theater-ish
yeah,
kind of place?
Chateau
He came to
the
a local
Chateau de
college.
Ville in
Yeah.
Natick, Massachusetts.
Yeah, he was, if you're 11 or 12 years old and that album comes out, the 7 words you can't say on television,
Yeah.
you're like, this is the new god.
Yeah. And he had a weird career. I mean, a weird career because he had like 3 careers. He was a straight comic, and then he became this counterculture icon. And those 3
He
albums,
let his hair grow.
yeah, FM and AM, Class Clown and Occupation Fool,
Yeah.
were like the comedian as a rock star.
Right.
Then he kind of coasted. He would have been the first person to tell you.
Yeah.
Kind of coasted. And then Sam Kinison in the early 90s scared him because he realized that Sam was shopping on his street, sort of.
Yeah.
And he loved Sam. He didn't, he was just like, but he realized, shook him out of his torpor. And then he had this whole burst of insane creativity with jamming in New York and back in town and all these just those are the specials that people still point to, that YouTube and TikTok is full of all of those quotes predicting what we're living through now.
The angry old man.
But all of the stuff about it's a club and you ain't in it.
Yeah.
And all of where we are now.
Yep.
He had it in 1991.
He sure did.
This is coming.
Yep.
Were there any of the older comedians from the generation before who reached out to you, who were supportive of you, or not, or who were horrible to you?
I mean, no one was ever horrible to me. No, I mean, I did this second to last Bob Hope special. That was kind of fun.
Wow.
Did a commercial with Bob.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually do a long.
You and Brooke Shields, or
I do a long bit about it on my special. I Know It's Wrong, where I'm doing a commercial with Bob, and I have to put my arm around him. And as I said, it was like his arm felt like a sweater full of light bulbs, and, he's utterly unaware that I'm next to him.
Oh man!
And my line is, "Join me and my new best friend this Thursday on his comedy special on NBC." And Bob turns to me and he's supposed to go, "Hey, I love this kid. Didn't you used to be my caddy?"
Oh God!
And he turns to me and he goes, "Hey, I love this kid. Didn't you used to be my caddy?" It's utterly intelligible. And this is, you can see this on my special.
I can't wait.
And the guy goes, "We're going to go again." But he goes, "Wah!" And my arm's around him the whole time. And I don't know how to take my arm down. He goes, "Why?" And the director can't say he messed up his line. So he goes, "Peanuts." "Wah!" "You were eating peanuts. You had some peanuts on your chin. Hang on." Because he was eating peanuts, but he didn't. Then a makeup woman comes and pretends to wipe peanuts off his chin.
Oh God! Oh.
So they can get another
a second take.
They get another take out of him.
I love this kid. Didn't you talk about
Oh my God!
Yeah.
You know this is what's coming for us.
Coming. Yeah. No, I know. But, Carson quit because he didn't want to be Bob Hope specifically.
Yes. He also hated that they did him on SNL.
Yes,
And
he did.
He said, when that starts happening, you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was the guy that really like, I gotta be that guy?
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, everyone we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Woody, Neil Simon, Mel Brooks, all the heroes.
The one I'm leaving out was Albert Brooks.
The best. Sensational.
When I
Do you know him at all?
met him a couple times.
No,
because of
he's
the
a great.
Simpsons and stuff.
He's great.
But like when I
and the greatest, maybe my favorite comedy album of all time.
Comedy Minus One or
And
Star
yes,
Spot.
yes, no, and where he talks about the opening acts, like when
Oh,
he was
Richie
open-
Havens, yeah,
Richie
yeah.
Havens. We're supposed to have Danny Hutton from Three Dog Night on soon.
Oh, my God.
We have a mutual friend.
Is that happening?
Appearing in
Yes.
appearing in
still
Kentucky.
Yes, he still.
This is the joke. Appearing in Kentucky.
Wait,
Three Dog Night.
Exactly. They're playing the whole stage.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, not today.
okay.
Not today.
If you watch me on stage, it's Albert Brooks. In terms of the intensity and the contained manic energy.
Yeah.
My wife calls me Falcon because when I perform, I look like a falcon when it runs.
Great. Great.
That's it's all Albert Brooks. It's all Albert Brooks.
He came out of the womb hilarious.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
just-
Well, yeah. There's that. I'm sure you know. I'm telling you nothing you don't know. Johnny Carson is interviewing Carl Reiner.
Yeah.
Says, "Who's the funniest person you know?" And he says, "My son's friend."
At 13, he would go over there and crack
Yeah.
up
Yeah,
Carl, Mel, all his other friends.
amazing.
It happened in this house. My wife said she's never seen me happier than when Albert Brooks came over to say hi. I was too shy to say hi to him, and he thought he knew me, which he did not.
Oh, funny.
And I got to meet him. To me, he is the
Well,
greatest
that was a
of
good
the
movie
greats.
night. We showed
Defending Your Life.
Defending Your Life.
Oh, and he
with
came
him.
over to do the commentary.
Which, if you go back, he outacts Meryl Streep in that movie.
No, but I just
insane.
watched that. I watched
Isn't
that
it
not too
great?
long ago. Yeah, it's
It's great. It's beautiful.
yeah,
It's perfect.
yeah,
it's perfect.
And it's funny because people always think of the first three. It's
Yes.
like I missed this, but he did a thing at Sketchfest. He
Yeah.
did like a Q&A.
I missed it too. Yeah.
And at the end of it, he goes, I don't want to show a clip package. I'm going to be selfish. And I want to watch the scene with Gary Marshall from Lost in America.
Best.
And he goes, I just want to watch an audience watch it.
Oh.
And it is. It's just like, and Janine Garofalo and I would always, we both knew everything and have his albums memorized.
Yeah.
And if I haven't seen her in a year, I hadn't seen her in a year.
Yeah.
And I've known her forever. We're very close. I walk into a room, I see her at the back of the room, and I go, turkey dinner now. And she turns around, turkey dinner. She knows immediately what I'm talking about.
Awesome. I thought you were going to say...
from A Star Is Born.
I thought you were going to say The Desert Inn Has Heart.
Turkey dinner is a weird clip from A Star Is Born.
Yes.
You know, next time you come to town, you're going to come to the house. I will. Turkey dinner now. Okay, turkey dinner.
He does both sides of the conversation.
Yeah.
And they're barely different, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, it's just like, and there's something about...
Oh, I bet I have one that you haven't heard. His brother, Bob dies.
Yes.
And did you hear this?
No.
He got up to make the eulogy.
Oh my God, no.
And he gets up and he goes, I'm just devastated. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say. I thought it was Cliff who died. His other brother.
Oh my God.
Pretty great.
No, but as you're a student of comedy, did you ever hear Park Your Carcass, his father? I've never actually heard anything.
I have heard like clips of stuff, but to be a performer whose father was a performer who died on stage. And here's the weird story about that I only read this recently.
Yeah.
His father died on stage at a Friars Club show.
Right.
Okay.
He killed, apparently.
Killed.
Sat down, died.
Died. It's a Friars Club show in Beverly Hills.
Right.
People think it's a joke that he slumps over.
Of course.
Then they realize it's not. Milton Berle says, is there a doctor in the house? 38 hands go up because it's a Friars Club show in Beverly Hills.
Amazing.
So they get him backstage.
Yeah.
They literally stripped the bulbs of a lamp to shock. They cut his heart open. They shocked his heart backstage. And this is like whenever it was the 60s or whatever. Yeah. You know, they were literally like shocked his heart with a lamp to try to get
they
it
knew
going
what to do.
again. Like, yeah. But can you imagine that?
I can't.
In the meantime, Milton goes, we got to keep doing the show.
Yeah.
Who is next? So-and-so is going to sing a song. Do it. The song, Without You, There's No Tomorrow.
Amazing.
I know. It's just like, do you know any other songs?
There is a clip of Milton saying, get up, sing something to that
is that
guy.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. I forget the singer. But listen.
And Richard Matheson wrote a book about Milton Berle, I Am Legend. No.
Dick Shawn died on stage.
Dick Shawn died on stage?
And his last words were, do you know what that is? Do you know what that? He was going into a routine. Let's pretend that everyone is dead and I'm the last person alive. And he drops dead.
There's a book
Very method.
by Burt Kearns and Jeff Abramson. I believe it's called The Show Won't Go On, which is just every performer that died on stage.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Grandma from
I'm
Beverly
going to get
Hills.
you that book.
I love it.
I'm going to get you that book.
Who was Irene? What was her name? Grandma
Irene
from
Ryan-
Beverly.
Irene Ryan.
Irene Ryan. Great. She's doing Pippin, I think. Oh, it's time to start living. And they turn her around in the chair, and by the time she turns back to the audience, dead.
Irene?
Yeah.
Good night, Irene. Here's the weird thing. I was actually looking at this thing for a Dr. Z thing. You Google image Irene Ryan, which we've all done.
Only when I'm lonely.
But there are photos of her when she's younger, and she was gorgeous.
Really?
Yes.
Maybe I will look.
Yeah, no, and it's really weird. It's like, yeah,
Look at her granddaughter on the show. She was, it didn't
my
come from nowhere.
My manager from years ago, David Campbell, was a stage manager on Broadway for years. And he almost slept with Diana Rigg. And he was like, not for what she looked like then.
Oh, hysterical.
But you have to.
Thanks for the memories.
Actually, yeah, just like
I met
same person.
I met Lauren Bacall. I had to write for her when she got her honorary Governor's Award Oscar.
Sure.
She was still sexy. She was
Sure.
but it was like crazy. Like it was still Lauren Bacall and funny as hell.
Yeah, I was very, very close with a woman named Mila Nurmi, who was famous as Vampira in the 50s.
Oh.
And she, you could still see it in her face. Like, oh yeah, no, you were like a stunner.
You know who's like that? Anne Margaret. I sat next to her at an Emmys one year, and I was just like, still sexy. Still
Jane Fonda, beautiful.
Jane Fonda, who did the podcast here. Yes, absolutely.
What did Mila?
I'm sure they all don't give a shit what we think, but it is very nice.
Oh, she would say thank you.
Well, she would care what you think.
Mila dated Elvis. She dated Orson Welles.
Oy.
She was James Dean's best friend.
What's her type? It's like
Orson Welles, around in the
30s.
It's in the 50s and 50s.
Yes.
Okay.
But she said, the first time Orson saw me in flagrant delicti, I was sprawled on the bed, and he looked at me and said, "Nice carcass." Oh. And I thought only Orson could see me naked and think of a turkey he wanted.
Hysterical. That's fantastic.
She was.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. She was a riot.
You know, his story, he went to Pink's and ate 17 hot dogs and went home and died.
Oh, is that what it was?
That came up in
That's
our
what I
Pink's
heard.
episode.
Yes.
Wow. I thought it was just to get out of listening to Peter Bogdanovich. This is where you'd be here all day. I was leaving, I had Tommy John surgery, and I'm leaving the physical therapy place in Burbank. Yeah. And I just walk by and the manager's on the phone, and I just hear, "Peter Bogdanovich cannot just come in here and use the treadmill." I was like, I love living here. I'm never moving.
Oh my God. Yeah. I know.
I love living.
It is heaven for nerds like us.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, I'm going to have a whole different feeling when I go to Motion Picture and Television Home, the campus, and I just always sit by that statue.
Yeah.
I think it's magical.
Caesar from Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
What? Anything else cool in the house?
Well, he had it in the house, and it was gone by the time we
I see.
moved there.
He had already donated it.
There, yeah. But no, he had a lot of. He had all these videotapes that we had, and it was literally just like very meticulously labeled, like Evening Shade, and then like Rebel Without a Cause, and it was just like
things he taped.
Rebel Without a Cause from broadcast.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like he taped his famous parties or something.
No, just stuff that he taped.
Because people talk. Those were legendary. Those parties
in
that house.
When you go to the Max Factor Museum at Hollywood and Vine, the powder room from the house is reconstructed in there, because in the powder room there are all of these photos of just people partying at the house, and you see like Harrison Ford talking to Betty Davis in my kitchen, but it's not my kitchen.
Yes.
And when he passed, Paul Rubens said, "You have to save the powder room."
Right.
And they literally took it out.
Extracted it?
Took the tile and rebuilt it in the Max Factor Museum. When we bought the house, I had to go there to photograph it so we could match the tile when we rebuilt it.
Wow.
And it's all there. Yeah.
That's great that you got to live there. That's very cool.
Yeah. No, they're still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, and we have a little Roddy shrine there, and I met Roddy. He was great. I met Roddy. I met Heston. I was very lucky. Yeah.
I used to run into Heston at the liquor store in Studio City all the time. I remember when I went to get like something from the Briss for my first child, I ran right into Heston, and I thought, that's a good sign.
I can do
seen
that.
God, you know. Exactly.
Do it with my teeth. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. No, I apparently he used to go to Kitcraft all the time, and I did Politically Incorrect with him, the first Bill Maher show.
Well, yeah. What was that like?
It was great because, it's like meeting the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
And then
it's Moses.
We was talking. We disagreed about something, and I said something that got a laugh, and they went right to commercial. And it looked like I shut him down.
Oh.
Where if you read it, it would. It was just like, but I got a laugh. And we went, we'll be right back. And he didn't get to finish his point. And he leans over to me like that. And I'm just like, no, please don't. Please. And he looks over at me and he goes, so you're an actor? Things are going well. Obviously, you're on this. So what are you doing? And
lovely.
Then, come after the commercial. This hippie doesn't know his ass in a hole in the ground. Next commercial. If you have a tough year, you can always go on the Cobra program. I developed that. God. And then after the show, we talked. I told him how much Planet of the Apes meant to me, and I said my Christmas card that year was my face over a gorilla from the movie dragging him on a leash, and I said, this might be kind of dorky, but would you mind signing this? And he signed it, and then he started to walk away, and he stopped, and he came back, and he grabbed my shoulders like that, and he went, this might be dorky too, but I'd be happy to send you a picture from the film if you'd like. I said, that would be the greatest. He went, well, give me your address. And 4 days later,
he did it. He did it.
Oh, no, he was
mensch.
Old school.
Moses was a mensch.
School. And it was back when people could disagree with you politically, and it doesn't mean you had to murder them.
That's the best advice that we could get today.
Yeah.
Dana, we love you. This flew by.
Yeah, it was great. I have had a blast.
All right, now we're reconnected. You're coming to movie night.
I'm coming to movie night. You're going to watch.
Let's put it on right now.
The trailer for Bella
let's put it on right now.
Do I, baby? Of course I do. Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo turn an island paradise into the zaniest madhouse in the 7 seas. Charlita puts a gleam in Duke Mitchell's eyes. Your smile only added life to your masquerade. Muriel Landers puts the whammy on Sammy.
Sammy! Run for your life! Go on, get out of here, run for your life!
Ramona, the romantic chimp, takes off on a romantic chase of her own. Strange, but interesting.
Really think so? What a charming compliment.
Bela Lugosi finds the perfect subject to turn a gorilla into a goof, and versa versa.
What are you trying to tell me? I don't understand a word. What am I, dumb or something? Don't answer that. Now look, Duke Mitchell, I'm running this game, you understand? And don't talk back. Yeah, now put it on, because we got to get out that door.
Naked Lunch is a podcast by Phil Rosenthal and David Wild. Theme song and music by Brad Paisley. Produced by Will Sterling and Ryan Tillotson. With video editing by Daniel Ferreira. And motion graphics by Ali Ahmed. Executive produced by Phil Rosenthal, David Wild, and our consulting journalist is Pamela Chellan. Thanks for listening to Naked Lunch, a Lucky Bastards production.